Good morning, dear students. Today, let us continue with our lesson number 1, Heredity and Evolution. In the last class, we have learnt about 6 evidences of evolution. And today, we will learn Darwin's theory of natural selection. So, you all can see the image of Charles Darwin. And his destination was voyage around the world. So he traveled around the world to study more about how life changes over time. Darwin collected the preserved remains of ancient organisms, that is fossil. He studied about them and he derived natural selection theory. Darwin also published his findings in the book of The Origin of Species. Now, what is Darwin's theory of natural selection? Darwin says that all the organisms reproduce prolifically, that is, reproducing more offspring or fruits in abundance. Meaning of prolifically is reproducing more offspring in abundance. These all organisms compete with each other in a life-threatening manner. Those organisms which reproduce in abundance, they compete with each other where, for example, they compete for food and shelter. Now, here you all can see an example where green and brown bugs are present on the ground and the birds can see and eat the green bugs easily. Why? Because they are present on the ground and the brown bugs are similar to the color of the mud or soil. So green are easily visible for the birds. Slowly the population of green bugs starts decreasing. Why? Because the birds or the particular crow, they eat them, and that's the reason the green bug starts decreasing their population. And with variation, brown bugs will increase their population. And this example is of natural selection. Now, based on above example of natural selection, Darwin says only those organisms sustain which shows the special modification essential for the winning of that particular competition to live. So, the organism which have special modification only win the competition. Beside this, natural selection also plays important role because nature selects only those organisms which are fit to live and rest of them die. They get perish. So the animal or organism which is fit to live, those organisms are selected by nature, and thus sustaining and selected organisms can perform reproduction, and thereby they give rise to new species with their own specific character. This is said by whom? By Darwin's theory of natural selection. Along with this, Darwin's theory of natural selection was widely accepted for long duration, but some of them brought up objections. But some objections were raised. Now, natural selection is not only factor responsible for evolution. This means it also requires mutation. Why? Because mutation itself says that there is change in the gene, and that's the reason it also creates the change in the character. So natural selection is not only the factor responsible for evolution. Second is, Darwin did not mention any explanation about useful and useless modifications. He derived the theory of natural selection but he didn't explain how the useful and useless modifications have been occurred in that particular organisms. And third one is there is no explanation about slow and abrupt change. During the natural selection process or the evolution, Darwin did not explain anything about the change occurring in that organism, which is slow or abrupt. And this is all about Darwin's theory of natural selection. Thank you, students.